Ta-da!
Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday. It is colder than the taxman's heart out there today. It is below zero. It's a bit nippy. I don't like cold weather, so I'm staying in and painting with you guys. That's the far better, as far as I'm concerned, than playing around outside in the cold. Today we're going to be painting Bold Sunflower Welcome. I was playing around with, I love sunflowers, and I was playing around with a few different ideas with them, and I ended up just playing. And this is what I came up with. I have no other excuse. He's going to sneak in. The white Nick Fury. Oh my gosh. In case you're wondering, old one eye here.
Old one eye.
Yeah. What is that? Oh.
Not wearing it for fun, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, he's not wearing it for fun. I'll explain later. Yes, Iris, I do have a pirate behind me. Yes, eye patch. Hi, Donna. Rich went to the get the oil changed in the van. It should be back soon. Nice. Donna, darling, I got your email, but I've replied, but it keeps coming back to me for some reason. I'm not sure why. It just bounces. But the answer is yes, you'll have it this week. There's a red-bearded pirate in my studio. Yeah, better the studio than in my kitchen. Where's Maze? She's at the top of the stairs whining because we won't let her in, and she has her head through the cat door. Where was I? Oh, yes, we're going to be painting sunflowers. Thanks so much for distracting me.
You're welcome.
Like, not that it's not easy to do,
I'm here
but
to distract.
Yeah, you do a good job.
Yeah, I'm gonna go mow the lawn.
Okay,
Hopefully this is.
it'll do.
Sorry, it's bugging me.
Okay. Go cut grass.
Okay.
Bye.
Is that like the New Brunswick way of saying kick rocks?
Yes, basically. Yeah. Go cut grass. Okay, now that the foolishness is over, the sign we're painting today, Bold Sunflowers, lots and lots of yellows, lots and lots of orangey colors and orangey tones and some green, and it's been so chill here the last few days that I really wanted something sunny and warm, and so you're stuck with sunflowers, just saying. And of course, there's a butterfly because, who doesn't love a butterfly? In the meantime, however, I do have some fun giveaways for you today. We've got these really cute bee bags. They're like the Create bags, but they're covered in bees. They're really cute. So I've got some bee bags, and inside are some really fun products in there for your creativity. One of which is a magnetic bookmark for your painting patterns or for your painting books. It's very cool, and they're all art related, so you'll get either a Renoir or you'll get Da Vinci or something like that. They're really cool, and I've tucked them inside our Stay Calm and Paint or stickers, and there's a bunch of goodies in there. Plus there's a beautiful set of specialty fan brushes, Dynasty Faux Squirrel. You're going to love them, especially if you paint a lot for Christmas time. They're fabulous for painting Christmas trees. You're just going to love them. So we have a great set, Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes, and we have a Christmas ornament blank, and we have a new pin kit for you, and those are in there as well. So we've got lots of fun stuff for you guys to play with in today's giveaways. And in order to get your name on the wheel, all you have to do is join us in the chat, say hello, hit a few buttons. What the heck? Hit all the buttons, the subscribe button, the follow button, all the buttons. Send us a heart, whatever. But join us in the chat. Your name will go on to the list. We pop that list onto the wheel, and at the end of today's live, we'll spin the wheel, and 3 of you will win one of those cute little bee bags. You're going to love them. They're just awesome. So we have lots of fun stuff to do today. There's Deb Daniker. Hi, sweetie. I see you got your earrings and whatnot from Dominique. That's so cool. She was so thrilled. Yeah. Who else did I miss here? Linda Morgan. Kathy Krasowski. Hello. And Suzanne Gagnon. Hello, madame.
And Catherine Fourcamp. Hello, Catherine. Oh, my stars. Everybody's here. And Jerry Zopa. Hi, hon. Sandy Scales. Hello, sweetie. And who else? Michelle Schmitz. Hello from Western New York. And Elaine, I know I'm going to mess this up. Elaine Saith. And Maylee. Hi, honey. I'm so glad you like your ornament. So my membership group did an ornament exchange, and I got Maylee's name. I was so excited. So she got one of my little mini washboards. I painted that up for her, and a couple of little goodies in there too. So, honey, I'm glad you liked it. Thanks for the little thank you picture. I loved that. And a message from Gail. Where? I get tons and tons of messages. Sometimes I can't get them all. I don't see a message. Okay. I will check on Gail's message. And hi, Faye. And Marilyn McBay. Hi. From Mount Hope, Ontario. Has it stopped snowing in Ontario? I know you guys got a fair bit. Oh, awesome. I missed that, Gail. I'm so sorry. Gail sent money for the puppers. Thank you so much. Our puppers, our local shelter got an influx yesterday. The animal welfare people actually seized a bunch of animals. So our local shelter got 9 dogs and 17 cats and kittens sent in. So they're scrambling right now, trying to make sure that they get them all. You know, they have to see vets. They have to do all of that stuff. So yeah, they're busy this week. Let me tell you, they are always busy at this time of year. And who else did I miss? Robin Storm. Hello, sweetie. And Bobby Corey. Hi. All right, guys. I will say hi to more of you as time goes by. And but in the meantime, we're going to get started on our bold sunflowers. So if you are ready to paint, so am I. I love this. This is just, but then again, I love sunflowers. I think they're my favorite flower ever. I love the fact that they get so tall. I love the fact that they're big and bright and yellow, and they're fun to paint. So this is what we're going to be painting today, is these pretty sunflowers on that dark blue background. I love that blue background. Going to be a fun one to paint today. So Natalie Donovan, hello. And Debbie Easton, what's for dinner tonight? Tonight we are having baked stuffed peppers. So I prepped those last night. I've made them with ground turkey and rice and lots of chopped vegetables, and they're cooking in a chili sauce. So that's what we're having for dinner tonight, is those fabulous stuffed peppers. And then tomorrow night, I am making, one of the girls in my membership group, I think it was Linda Morgan, gave me a recipe for white chili. So I'm going to try her recipe tomorrow. So that's what's on the menu. White chili, and I think it's like white beans. It's still a red sauce, but it's made with chicken and white beans. So it looked and sounded so good, I decided to try it. I know, right, Beth? I love polka dots. You cannot go wrong with polka dots. So our color we're starting with here is deep midnight blue. I'm quite infatuated with this for backgrounds. It is a gorgeous blue. There's a richness to it. It's slightly grayed. So it's just such an easy color to work with, especially when you're going to be working with yellows. It's just a beautiful yellow background for yellows. So deep midnight blue. And we're going to work with a little bit of warm white. I wanted white on this. Usually I go with cobblestone or a gray, but this time around I wanted some crispness. I wanted the brightness of the white. So we're going to position our polka dot stencil so that it slightly goes off the page. You see how you can see a little bit of the blue right through the stencil there? That's what I want. I don't want to fit inside the edge. I want it to come past the edge just slightly. And then I'm going to tape it in place so that it doesn't move around. Now the design is perfect for 11.5 inches or 11 inches because you can move it around. So I'm anxious to try this white chili because it just sounded so good. It was a nice combination of flavors in it. So I've been anxious to try it. And of course, I'm going to make cornbread to go with it. So, oops. So the stencil brush I'm working with is a 1/2 inch Dynasty Stencil Pro, and we're working with a little bit of warm white. I'm going to move the camera slightly so you get a better look. So I've picked up a little bit of warm white, and I'm working it into the brush in a circular fashion and changing directions. And that gives you a nice even distribution of colors. You see how it goes evenly around through the brush? And then we're going to take a piece of shop towel and just blot a little bit so that we don't have a ton of paint on it. And I'm not looking for perfectly opaque. I want them bright, but I don't want them solid. The reason for that is I'm going to distress them anyhow. And I don't really want them to be fully opaque. If they're too opaque, then they're hard to distress. And circular fashion, don't forget, change directions frequently. Light touch, you don't need to work hard to do this. I love a good polka dot. I'm really looking for unusual variations on chili. I'm finding a lot of them are just, I don't do well with chili powder. I'm okay with a little bit of cumin, but chili powder is a bit much for me, so it just upsets my stomach, so not everybody can eat it. So I'm always looking for something different. And variations on older dishes are great, especially if it uses something a little leaner, like using chicken instead of beef. I really like that. I got up this morning about 7:30 or so, and I came downstairs and took some butter out of the fridge, and I made a big batch of scones. Nice big batch. Oh, look at that. Nice and bright, but they're not fully opaque. They're not solid. So I'm going to take that off and line up my stencil yet again so that everything is nice and true. Tape it in place. So I made cranberry scones this morning, and I got a case of lemons delivered yesterday and a case of oranges delivered yesterday, so I have to get those ready. You know what, Denise? Some people just cannot do chili powder, and I'm one of them. It just does nasty things to my tummy. So I always look. Now cumin and cilantro I love, so I can do those, but I cannot, for whatever reason, do the chili powder. I don't know what it is in it that bothers me, but something does. There we go. Now, I'm going to finish off these polka dots. I love polka dots. There's something happy about polka dots. Something very happy about polka dots. Ha! Sandy, aren't they pretty? Sandy Barton was just saying she just got her
40th anniversary colors from Decor. I've been playing with them. I think my favorite color in the whole bunch is the After Dark. I love After Dark. And the Atmosphere. I just think Atmosphere is such a pretty pale, it has a very vintage feel to it to me. And hard to describe. It's not quite a purple. It's just, there's something lush about it and something elegant about it. It's just a really pretty color. A grayed out lavender. That's probably the best way I can describe it. I love this color. So in the bottle, I love the label is very cool, but these colors are so pretty. And this has just, there's something really rich about this color. Renee's eye, he went for an MRI this week, where we should get the results of that from his specialist this week. So, a little bit of luck. They're not sure what caused it. That's what they're looking for, but he has one eye that is just not functioning properly. The vision is there, but the eye won't move. It does really strange things. His eyes decide to go off in different directions. They're not talking to each other anymore. There's something about this new color line that I'm just thrilled with. It's just so pretty. So I've got polka dots. They are not fully opaque. They're a little distressed looking. We're going to distress them even more. Hi, Brenda. So we're going to distress this very lightly. I don't want to tear them right off, but I want to wear them a little. I want to wear through them a little. So I'm going in one direction. Like so. Just to soften the look of it. These things are awesome. And then I'm going to take my shop towel and I'm going to wipe off the dust. Like so. That takes off the bulk of it. I'm going to get this wet with a little bit of clean water and wipe off the rest. So it has softened the polka dots somewhat. You can see that they're not fully opaque. And I'm going to dry this really well, although it's not going to take long for it to dry. Hi, Elizabeth. Oh, I think he's going to be fine. It might take some time to get his eyes back into the way they're supposed to be, but we'll soon find out what the cause is and what the treatment will be moving forward, but we'll see. Oh my goodness. Jackie Osborne, welcome. You're painting orders as you watch. Good for you. And Carla Stark, welcome, sweetheart. Heidi Verlot from Timmins, Ontario. You're having a snowstorm? Yes, it is. It's an excellent day for painting. So we have a nicely distressed surface. We're going to take one of my favorite colors, Prussian blue, and we're going to give ourselves a nice little edge. I like a little edging. That little bit of contrast just makes such a difference to how everything looks in the end.
Honey, I'm with you. I am with you. I love yellow. I love it in signs. I love it, bits and pieces of it here and there, but I do not wear yellow. I look like a liver patient. It turns my skin really a ghastly color. So I'm going to put a float of Prussian blue all the way around the outside edge of this piece. Doesn't have to be perfect. I have this thing about polka dots. There's something very happy about polka dots. There we go. Look at that. So it is not one of those meticulous. Janet, you are not wrong. This is not one of those meticulous, perfect little floats. We're just putting a little darker value at the outside edge, just like so. So we're going to dry this, and then we're ready to trace and transfer our line drawing. Ta-da! There we go. So you can see it's just a subtle little shadow all the way around the outside edge. It's very subtle, but it's necessary. Now, when I did the pattern, I did it with the word welcome in English, but I also included the welcome in French. So if you're looking for a French language piece, especially for some of my fellow Canucks, if you want the French version, there it is. It's already in the pattern. Now I sized this for 11.5 to 12 inches, but you don't have to do it that way. So I've trimmed mine down to fit on this smaller surface. So I'm going to line up the top edge of my paper with the top edge of my surface. Then I'm going to tape it into place. Oh my goodness, Sue. I look like I passed away and they forgot to bury me. Yeah, I just look jaundiced, positively jaundiced if I wear yellow. And yet I love yellow, but I can't wear it. I just look terrible in yellow. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm going to use white graphite underneath here. Da. And I'm going to use my red gel pen. Merlot. Oh my goodness. Debbie, you're in Chateauguay, are you not? Chateauguay. Montreal area is expecting snow and nasty weather. We're expecting it tomorrow. We're going to get maybe a couple of inches of snow tomorrow. Should be interesting. Probably won't be much, because there'll probably be some rain with it. Yeah. Yeah. Montreal area. We'll see snow today and we'll see it tomorrow. That's usually how it works. If Montreal gets it, we usually get it the next. I don't know if you can hear it, but my husband is cutting the grass for the last time this season.
because we had quite a bit of rain in the last week, and all of a sudden the lawn just went ta-da! It was all dry and crunchy, and then in late October and in November we get all this rain. No, I just the fall is rough for me. Allergies and things like that just drive me crazy, and it causes like sinus issues and whatnot. So that's what I was dealing with, was just sinus issues, nothing serious, just annoying. And then this week I woke up with a head cold, and it's it's just right in my nose. So yeah, I'm a little what do you call it? A little stuffy sounding. I'm almost like gravel Gertie, but I'm fine. It's the time of year with the leaves and whatnot. I look forward to that cold snap where everything freezes, because then the allergies stop. It's the mold and, just things, rotting leaves and things like that. And I go through it again in the spring when the snow melts and it starts to warm up, and then everything, again. The funny part is it's just an allergy, and I'm fine. And I had my big follow-up with my, in reference to my asthma, and I'm doing great according to my doctors, so all's good. But it's just, for me, it's like one thing after another. It's either dry and then the pollen kills me, or it's wet and then the molds kill me, so it's all good. I sound rough, that's all. So I'm just going to quickly trace the basic outline of everything. You don't need all the little details because we're going to put those back in a little later. But I do like to just put that center lane in and make sure I've got all of the petals traced. And then make sure I trace the center as well. Here we go. Sunflowers. There's so many different varieties. The interesting thing about sunflowers is essentially they're a giant daisy, and which puts them in the same family as the aster, believe it or not. So Asteraceae, which is the family they belong to, and daisies, chamomile, and sunflowers all fall into that category. I always found that interesting, that, these giant flowers, and there's different varieties of sunflowers. I mean, some of them are absolutely massive. One of the, there's a fellow here in the village, he had an ugly chain link fence, and he just threw a handful of sunflower seeds along it, figuring, okay, they'll either grow or they won't. The size of them, they must have been in one of those perfectly located places, because they were absolutely massive, and I had to be at least 50 of them all along this fence, and it was so tall you couldn't see the chain link at all. It was just huge. But they were so beautiful, these great big heads. I mean, they're the size of a steering wheel on a car. They were huge. And so pretty. It's exciting when you see something like that. And I love this time of year because some of the wildlife starts to really come out. We have a fox in the neighborhood, a red fox, that has obviously built a place to stay in our neighborhood. There's a wooded area right across the street from us. He appears to have decided to stay there. And so we see him, he cuts across the lawn, or, he's out chasing things. And then we have raccoons that have decided my backyard is a great place to play at 4 o'clock in the morning. So they were making a bit of a fuss out there. And birds, oh my goodness. We had an influx of blue jays.
and Canada jays, what we affectionately refer to as whiskey jacks here. And they're very pretty. So there we go. Got that all traced on there. We'll take that off. Now, despite how it looks, it actually works up very quickly. Hello, Deb. A deer walks up to your window. We had a camp, a fishing camp when I was a kid. And my parents used to take us out every summer. And it was always such a great place to go. You could swim in the lake or go fishing or, Anyway, one morning, the camp, the cottage, it had a Dutch door at the front, which was where the kitchen was. And my mother was making breakfast one morning, and every morning, the minute she got up, she would open the Dutch door, the top half of the Dutch door, and then just let the breeze, the morning air come in, and it was just always so nice. So she was making breakfast, and she heard a noise behind her and assumed it was my father. And then she felt something nuzzle her neck. Then she really assumed it was my father. And when she turned around to say something to him, there was a young moose with his head through the Dutch door. Scared the tar out of her. So yeah, great big moose standing there with his head through the Dutch door. Scared my mother half to death, which in turn woke up my father. So I put a float of Prussian blue all the way along that outline. And inside these little open areas between the flowers and underneath, right there, you want to put a float of that Prussian blue. Super easy. And the rest of this is going to be so simple. Well, we have, because of where we live, I mean, we've literally face onto nothing but trees, nothing but forest behind us. And we get a fair amount of wildlife. Fisher cat, lynx. We get the odd coyote comes in. They're kind of funny. Depends on the time of year. But this time of year when their food is starting to hide, they start to come in town. So we have a nice shadow of Prussian blue in behind. It isn't a super dark one, as you can see there, but it's enough to lift this forward. Whatever Mom was making at the time, yeah, Moosey wanted a taste. So we're going to base coat the leaves with, I've been using avocado toast a lot lately. I like this color. Avocado toast. It's a nice green. And I'm going to base coat with a nice big round. I'm going to use one of these Evo art brushes. I like these. Hi, Donna. Yeah, I haven't seen Patrick this morning. So I'm going to use a simple base coat of this avocado toast. Doesn't have to be neat and tidy, because we'll probably come in with a second coat here in a second. I really like this green. There's something really subtle about it. There we go. Nice greenness.
A nice avocado green. Avocado toast. You know, it has that lighter value. It reminds me like a lighter value of antique green. That's a good description. Here we go. And then I'm going to quickly give it a second coat, just because we're working. I should have put white down, but I didn't. And this green is fairly opaque, so a second coat will cover nicely. Look at that. Second coat covers very nicely. And I try to do it in as few strokes as I can, and all going in the same direction. Just find that that seems to work really well. And then you don't have to fight against brush marks. There we are. And one last leaf over here. Et voila. So we have green leaves. Oh, I don't know. YouTube has changed so much, it drives me bananas. And there's Lady Di. And Carrie. Hi. And Karen Marburg. Hello, sweetie. I don't know what happened to our video last week, but nobody was able to get into the chat, and it was set up for that. We always set it up that way. So I have no idea what happened, but it is the live version, Sharon. Good to have you with us. So we've got leaves, and now we're going to prep the petals of the sunflower. I like doing that with warm white. And I do it in one coat, and it's this quick. I'm going to take a nice big round brush, about a number 5 or a number 6. I find that those are the best size for this, just because you can cover a lot of space with them and still have a lot more control over it, because it is a fairly tiny spot. So I like to do my petals like this, following the shape of the petal in as few strokes as possible. So I've got 3 strokes to fill that, and I'm going to do all of the forward, the petals that are closest to you first. Just like that. And I start out at the tip and I pull a stroke back towards the center. And if you need to thin out the paint a bit more, it's okay. These do not have to be fully opaque. Just like that. Forward petals first. Oops. There we go. Yes, I do have this on my site. We do have the set. We'll put it in. You get the butterfly with that board. So if you find the board. So there we go. We've got ta-da! Now we're going to go in and do the ones in between, the ones in behind, but leave a small space where they overlap. Just a small little narrow sliver. That way you don't have to, you see there's that little narrow space, that's what you need. And if you can do this in as few strokes as possible and leave yourself that little space, all of your brush marks follow the pattern of what you would naturally see in the in the petals themselves. So we have lovely petals. Now I've got a petal back here behind that center. Comme ça. Put a little white on there. Look how pretty. You're welcome, Debbie. Don't forget there's a coupon code up at the top of the page on the website too. Make sure you use it. Save yourself your pennies. Here we go. I like doing the forward ones first because, well, it's easy. You don't have to really struggle with them. Like I said, I think sunflowers are my favorite flower. I love daisies, I love sunflowers, I love asters. I like all of those multi-petaled flowers. There's just something about them. I think it's the simplicity of them, although they're really not as simple as we think, but there's just something delicate about them. I just love them. And sunflowers are just, they're an in-your-face, look-at-me flower, and yet they're so simple. I have, in my bedroom, I have white cushions on a gray bed, and then I have a sunflower cushion that sits right in the middle. Because I just love the bright yellow against all of that gray and white. It's just so pretty. And it stays out all year long. I love it. Exactly. Sunflowers are happy flowers. Same with daisies. Daisies are happy flowers. So we're almost there. To me, this is just such a simple way to paint flowers. They don't have to be fully opaque. You are going to see brush marks. That's okay. See how I pull that down? The idea being, so all the brush marks go in one direction. So that as you're painting, they just become part of the flower, which usually shows up in the vein work of the flower anyway. Like that. And leave that little space. Oh my goodness. Deb Bloomfield. Girl, you crack me up. So, almost there. There's something. I was working on a couple of new designs. And I finished one last night for a Zoom class I'm going to be teaching in March. And I have that one, and I have two others for another Zoom class. And I've been working on everything piecemeal, and the two others are they've turned out so nice. And I'm thrilled with them. But I got a spot here I'm not happy with. There we go. Okay, so we've got a nice base down for all of these. So I'm going to dry these really well. Patrick! Oh, you're decorating the study. I love the wallpaper I saw the other day. It's gorgeous. Lil, I hope your craft show is going well. Hit the 3 dots in the corner. Well, you can complain to YouTube. My channel is monetized, so that's what keeps the channel running, unfortunately. But during a live, that's frustrating. There might be a way that I can adjust that. There used to be, so I will have a look. Hi, Elaine. So this is nice and dry. And the color I'm going to use is Baby Duck. I think this is one of my favorite yellows. There's something about this color that just, oh, it's so pretty. So we're going to use Baby Duck. And we're going to apply the yellow the same way that we applied the white. Except now we don't have to worry about making little lines, like little spaces, because they're already there and they'll show through the yellow. So again with the round brush, and we're going to, the same application right over the white, as few strokes as possible. Now those brush marks that remain will become part of the flower. That's not a bad thing, because it's going to create that level of realism. All of those nifty little vein lines that show up in the petals of a sunflower or any flower. Look at that. So you can just overstroke everything you've done with the white quite lightly, just like that. And see all of those brush marks? I love the brush marks. Make that works for us. I know, right, Diane? Who doesn't love a baby duck? Like, really? And if you're Canadian, there's a lot of people that don't like baby duck. For us, baby duck was a very cheap wine. You know, it's like Boone's Farm, right? Cheap wine. But baby duck was like a champagne. Well, not like a champagne. It was a sparkling wine, and not a high-end one. But that was back in the day. It might be better now, but it sure wasn't then. So look at that sunflower. Lots of shape. And this is just fun to do. Look at that. So base coated, all base coated. Super easy. And if you come out onto the center, it's okay, because we're still going to be doing something with the center. Look at that. Hi, Kaylin. A beautiful day. What color is that, please? This is Baby Duck. I think probably one of my favorite yellows. It has become one of my favorite yellows. It's just so pretty. And it's soft and it's creamy looking. And when you see what we do with it after this, I love this color. It's a nice, almost, I would call it a semi-opaque. Old folks rails.
part of my, I get it, this is funny. Well, it's funny, not funny, but if you know me, it's kind of funny. I've been dealing with asthma for the last year, almost 2 years now, that just was completely out of control. And my doctor wanted me to make the time, as he put it, to walk every day for a minimum of 30 minutes. And he wanted me to build up from 15. You know, he didn't want me to just jump in because, you know, he didn't want to kill me. So he has me walking every day. So I'm using the treadmill, especially during the fall and at the height of the summer, because the between the heat and the pollen and all the other stuff, I was just having too hard a time. So I've been using the treadmill. And the other day, my husband reminded me, because my balance is not the best, that don't forget there is a clip on the treadmill that will shut it off if I fall. I think excellent idea. Excellent idea. So I have been clipping this thing to myself when I'm on the treadmill, so that if I do fall, the machine will shut itself off. Perfect. There's also a button, like a stop button, that you can hit if you have to get off the treadmill for whatever reason. Well, the other day, there was nobody home. Dominique was out helping her father, or they had gone somewhere anyway. Renee was at work, so I was here by myself. I got onto the treadmill to go for my walk. No problem there. I clipped myself to the thingy. No problem there. Then I heard the doorbell. So I unclipped the thingy and I stepped off the treadmill, went upstairs, dealt with the door and all of that. And I came back downstairs and without thinking, stepped onto the treadmill. I forgot to shut it off. And it... I mean, it's only a miracle that I didn't completely wipe out, but let's just say that it was, if you'd been a fly on the wall, it would have either been terrifying or funny. I'm not sure which, but yeah, I looked like a complete idiot trying to catch myself, and then run to get back up to the speed of the treadmill. Yeah, it was interesting. Oh, my stars. Went to the doctor Wednesday, loaded me up on meds. Oh, good. Glad to hear you're feeling better, Robin. And Rich is back. He went by Costco. Oh, my gosh. On a Saturday? Are you crazy? I live 10 minutes from one. There's no way in Hades I would go anywhere near Costco on a Saturday. I'll order anything and have it delivered, but I'm not going in. Hi, Joan. These are the new colors for 2026. And essentially for the period of the anniversary, they will have that label, and then they will most likely switch over to the standard label, but these are the new colors. Yeah. No, Robin, you know, I'm not a danger to anybody else, just to myself. No, I do not want to fall. I don't bounce like I used to. Okay, so we have sunflowers. I'm going to dry this really well, and then we're going to base coat the center of these flowers with asphaltum. And I'm going to base coat them, shade them, and highlight them. So I'm using a Deerfoot stippler to do the base coating. So I'm going to pick up a little asphaltum. I want texture on these, so I'm going to stipple right up to the edge of the petals, just like that. And just to fill in the center. Don't overthink it, just fill it in. Neatness doesn't count, perfection is to be avoided at all cost. Look at that. Stipple, stipple, stipple. I love a good Deerfoot. And then do the same thing to this one. Look at that. This is fast and dirty. You don't need to be base coating solid for this. You'd pay to see it? Yeah, well, I can guarantee you, you'd get your money's worth. No, we don't bounce anymore. Not very well at all. There we go. So, now we get to do all the fun stuff because, you know, as my mother used to call it, the bulwark is done. Tea time. Nice. I'm sipping on my tea, and I have lovely scones upstairs. It is fall. It's cranberry time. So this morning I made cranberry lemon scones. I love anything flavored with lemon, but the recipe for these scones is on my website, and they're absolutely delicious, and they're perfect on if you chilly morning or with your tea. They're just perfect. So we're going to start building this very pretty sunflower, and I love this color. If I can find it, it's called tea berry. There it is, tea berry. I love this color. Ooh, cinnamon buns. Ginger and turmeric tea is so good. So, a little bit of tea berry. I like this color. Debbie, I have a kill switch on mine, and I did have the kill switch on. I just forgot to shut it off, shut the treadmill off. I stepped off like I normally, the way I step on, and I didn't think about it until when I got back, and I just stepped on it, and, nearly became part of the wallpaper in the gym. Cranberry lemon scones, they're so good. And they're just, there's something yummy about them. So I've got a little bit of Joe Sonia's Fast Dry glaze. I'm using a 1/2 inch Dynasty Faux Squirrel angled shader. And I'm picking up a little bit of tea berry. I love this color. It has sort of become like one of my all-time favorites. And we're going to start on those forward petals right here. And you're going to put a U-shaped float right at the base of the petal, like so. With that. Now I don't go edge to edge. I leave a little space at the edge of the petal. So come down in, about 1/8 of an inch is plenty. Just like so. Walk it up the sides a little bit. And I like to do all of the
the big ones first. Don't ask me why. There's no rhyme or reason. I just I just like it. Actually, I find it easier if I have the bigger ones done first. For me. And then once you have those ones done, look at that. I like these. Now, this color, there's something about tea berry. It almost glows. Hi, Anne. Oh, and it's not surprising. We had actually had a hard time getting connected today. We got Facebook, no problem, but YouTube took a little bit. But here we are. So, nice little float. I love this color. Just so pretty. There's something about this that it just glows. So nice little U-shaped floats, give about 1/8 of an inch on either side of the petal. And that little, leaving that little space on the petal forms that little cup. You know how when a flower blooms and at the base of the petal there's that little cup? And that's what that does. It helps give you that little cup. So now that I have those big ones done, I'm going to switch to a smaller angled shader. I'm going to go to a 3/8. I don't often go much smaller than a 3/8. I don't find it does much. You're not a morning person. Katie Stables, welcome. She's all the way from New Zealand. Good heavens. We're a rather international bunch here. and any painter or creative person is welcome. We love having everybody. Myself, I'm Canadian. I live in the tiny village of New Maryland. And we have wonderful people from France and from Australia and Switzerland. And we have people from everywhere, from the UK. We have people that come and play in my sandbox. And I love having you here. So I'm going to use that same tea berry. And we're going to separate all of the petals. Those little ones in the back, like so. And I'm going to separate these two. Look at that. And don't be afraid to let this color be quite bright. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it doesn't look it on camera, but that color is quite bright. Oh, they're a great bunch here. We're here to paint and play and have a good time. And maybe learn something or two. Hopefully we learn something. So there we are. So I'm separating all of those back petals, that back row of petals, with just a float of that tea berry. And it's okay to let that color float up the petals. I love tea berry. There's a couple of new recipes on my website. Just go to the More column or at the top, the menu at the top of the homepage there. You'll see recipes up there. Just click on it. There's all kinds of recipes in there to download.
I did add one or two this week. Mostly soup recipes. Where's Lucy? She's probably going to need bail money if we can't find her. But we love Lucy. Hi, Cindy. For those of you that are new to this channel, some of these ladies, some of these followers in here have been with me for quite a while, like almost 6 years. They have literally become family. They're awesome. It's such a supportive bunch, and way too much fun. The only rules I have on my channel, both on my Facebook page and here, is just be kind to each other. And I follow my mother's rule of thumb. If you can't say anything kind or nice, then don't say anything. That's just my rule. We're here to look after each other, support each other. There's enough nastiness in the world. There's no need to add to it. So that's my view. So there's that tea berry. Look at how pretty that is on top of that baby duck. So the baby duck is a very muted, almost pastel yellow. I love this tone. And it works really well over top of yellow. It's, that baby duck is just such a pretty color. So the downside is that it needs something to get a little bit of heat. And we need some heat. We want these sunflowers to really glow. So I'm going to use a color called red spice. So I've got red spice. If you don't have red spice, and if you prefer something a little brighter, go ahead and use some your favorite orange. And another color we're going to use on this is called saffron. One of my favorite colors. And I use it for a variety of things, but saffron is it's such a hot yellow. It's going to look awesome. So we're going to take a little bit of red spice, and I'm going to switch over to my 1/2 inch. And we're going to pick up a little bit of red spice. Now, red spice is very similar to canyon orange, or burnt orange, sorry. Very similar to burnt orange. The only difference is that the red spice is transparent, whereas the burnt orange is a little bit more opaque. Good heavens. So you're going to take that red spice. You're going to love this. And when you float over top of that, look at the heat. And now I'm not using this full strength. I'm just, blending it out a little bit. And I'm only putting it at the lowest portion of that float. Look at the heat you get out of this. And it's a very watery float, but it just pops that tea berry. Look at that. Love it. And it's a quick float, nothing fancy. All you're doing is just deepening that color at the base, right at the base. Over that darkest part, that's where you want that float. So just down there, see where it's darkest? That's where you get it. Just a little bit. I love this. And these are very loose floats. These are not crisp, precise floats. Okay, you're a brat. Wasn't that a line from Steel Magnolias? Seems to me Olivia Dukakis sent that. I loved her character in that. This is a very loose and very watery float. This is a perfect example of neatness doesn't count and perfection is to be avoided at all costs. We do not need to have that meticulous float. All you're doing is toning that first color you put in. So just so you get an idea, look at the heat. There's the tea berry without it. There's the tea berry with it. You get that little punch of heat right at the base of the flower and in that shadow back there. And it's really going to amp up in just a sec. So there we go. Super simple float. Just deepens things a little bit. Gives you all that heat. Now I'm going to rinse that. And I'm going to grab my round brush again, if I can find it. I have a knack for losing brushes today. That's twice I've looked for my... Oh, good grief. There it is. Nope, that's not it. Right color, wrong brush. There we go. So I'm back to my number 6 round. I'm going to pick up a little bit of that Jo Sonja's, and we're going to pick up this saffron. Saffron yellow. It is a high acid yellow, like really, really yellow, and it is very transparent. Hi, Milena. You're late, but you're okay. I don't hold it against you. So you're going to thin out that saffron yellow. Carrie, it can't seem to get that U-shaped float on my flowers. Can I show you a trick? Let me show you a little trick. U-shaped float. I'm going to do it on the line drawing because it is hard to see it on camera. I know that. So I'm going to grab my angled shader. Where is it? There it is. So I'm going to do it right here so you can see how this goes. I call it a U-shaped float. It's actually a C-stroke. So you're going to pick up your float. I'm going to show you with the red spice just so that it's... Blend it well so that you get it. Stand the brush on the chisel edge, like so. Right on the chisel edge, the whole chisel edge, and then push towards yourself and pull it up. Chisel edge, push, and come back up onto the chisel edge. So this way, the whole chisel edge of the brush always stays on the surface. Like that. Whole chisel edge. Part of the problem when people struggle with this is they have a tendency to want to tip the brush up onto its point. Like roll it between their fingers and tip it up. The problem with that is that all of the float part of the brush is no longer touching the surface. So hold it almost straight up and down, chisel edge, push, lay the brush down on the whole chisel edge, and then release the pressure and come back up on the chisel edge. So that's how you do that little float. Chisel edge, push, chisel edge. It'll give you that U shape every time. But the thing you have to remember whenever you're floating anytime is that whole chisel edge of the brush should be on the surface. Just like that. So if you're floating, the minute you turn it up on its point, you're just going to get a line. So use the whole chisel edge of the brush to lay it onto the surface and it'll give you a nice smooth float. Hola, hola. Gail Jensen, which brush am I using? For floating, I'm using a 1/2 inch faux squirrel angled shader. And when I'm basing, I'm using the number 6 round. So we're going to pick up a little bit of that thinned saffron yellow on our round brush. And we're going to start right out at the point of our petal and go over the whole petal the same way we base coated it with that saffron yellow. Look at the float. Look at these petals. All of that summer sunshine just popped. Hi, Jill. Nice to have you with us today. Saturdays are so busy, it seems. Always so busy. So put a wash of that heavily thinned saffron over the petals and look at the brightness you get. Isn't that awesome? So you'll hear me say it a lot. The more layers, the more depth. And this is layer number 4 on these petals. 5, actually. So 5 layers of color over top of these petals. And look at the vibrancy you get it. Just oodles of bold yellow. Hence the name, Bold Sunflowers. I love this saffron yellow. It's so, so pretty. Thin it out. It's very transparent. One of the things that practicing on paper or on a Buddha board or however you decide to do it, practice your floats or practice your stroke work. The repetition teaches you brush control. You learn very quickly how much pressure you can put on the brush to get the effects that you want. So when it comes to floating, the biggest trick is getting the balance of moisture in the brush. That's the biggest thing, is getting that water balance between just enough and not enough. And in a lot of the cases where people struggle, it's not because they don't have enough, it's because they end up with too much. And it's maintaining that consistency of getting the right amount of liquid in your brush for floating that gives you the control. And once you have that, you can do anything. I have several tricks that I use for that, because you ever have a day where you know I can't float today? I've had that every other day this week. So I've had to, break out those little tricks every once in a while to compensate, because no matter how long you've been doing this, you still have days where you couldn't paint your way out of a wet paper bag. Oh, absolutely. This stuff is the bomb for floating. It acts almost like a lubricant so that you get these nice smooth floats. So there, we've got saffron yellow over our petals. And now we look at those bright sunflowers. Nice and bold. I am a firm believer that the more layers, the more depth. So I'm going to dry this really well, and we're going to tackle the leaves next, which are super simple. Somehow I do them different every time. It depends on what I want, I think. I just realized I missed a petal. There we go. If I want soft and subdued sunflowers, I don't use the saffron. I'll try something else. But if I want vibrancy, I will use saffron. I wanted bold contrast against all that blue, and it needed the heat from that saffron to do that. So we're going to dry this really well. Make sure everything is good and dry. And then we're going to, hi Norma. We're going to do these leaves now. And these are really simple, but again, we're going to do them in about 3 to 4 layers. Oh, Deb, you know, I have a heavy hand too. So the leaves, we started out the leaves with a coat or two of avocado toast, which is a really pretty green. It's a very pretty green. Debbie, I find that the clear glaze is a bit too shiny. That's why I like the fast dry. It ends up giving you a much lower sheen, although you may from time to time get a halo, but not very often. And usually if you get a halo, just shake your bottle. There is a flattening agent in it, so I'm using a little bit of black green. You can use plantation pine. You could use black forest green. You just need a dark green. And in this particular case, I'm going to switch out to a 3/8 angled shader. Right? Sunflowers make me happy too. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of black green. And we're going to shade underneath our petals. And I'm going to walk this green out a little bit. I want a nice contrast at the edge of these petals. Or at the edge of these leaves, I should say. There we go. Look at that. So there's one. I just wanted a nice shadow in that leaf. And I'm going to walk it out just a little. Doesn't need to be far, but it does need to be a little dark underneath those petals, like so. And then we've got one more. And this is not a pretty float. It doesn't have to be. As long as it gets up underneath. We are by no means finished with this. It's just the first layer. So, as long as we get that dark green up underneath there, we're golden. There we are. Look at that. So we have a shadow, albeit not a perfect one. It is a happy little place. I like it here. Hi, Vicky. So once you have that first float in, now we're going to do the center vein. So again, doesn't have to be perfect. I do love a good center vein. Like that. Here we go. And I'm going to deepen this float a little bit because it wasn't quite dark enough. There we are. So we have a center vein in the black green on all three leaves. And I'm going to dry this, and then we're going to build a highlight. I love black green. I love plantation pine too. It has, each of them has their own place. So I've got two colors that I want to play with. I'm going to play with this and margarita. So I've got a neon green and I have margarita. So I'm going to start with the margarita, and we're going to put, where's my 1/2 inch? There we go. So I'm going to rinse that brush, and we're going to pick up a little bit of margarita and blend it well. We don't need it full strength. We just need a little of its opacity. And I'm going to put a float opposite the shadow down this leaf.
just like that. So we've got that little lightness there, and I'm going to pull that down the opposite side, just like so. Little bit of margarita. Such a pretty color. Slightly opaque, very bright, has a high acid, which means it just has lots of yellow in it. And I wanted these leaves to have lots of yellow in it because of that dark background. If I just went with a muddy green or a standard green, it wouldn't give me the contrast that I want against that blue. So we're going to give this green, oof, 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 how pretty is this? So now that I've got a highlight on my leaves, again, doesn't have to be perfect by any stretch of the imagination. We just want to get a little of that color on there. And I want to bring a little of it along this edge here and on the top edge. Just like that. Looking pretty good. I like it. Doesn't that tea berry just, oh, I love it. With that tiny touch of red spice over top. It's just so pretty. So I've got this. This is blacklight neon, but any neon will do this. So if you have the hot shots or if you have neons, they'll all work. So this one is green or thermal green. Love this color. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of thermal green. And I'm going to go over the leaf with the thermal green and float it right over the highlight. Just like that. Look at that. I love the fact that these neons just give everything a little punch. It doesn't have to come screaming off of there, but I like that, the vibrancy that it gives these leaves. Look at that. It's just enough. But you need to have a little bit of that more opaque green underneath it, and that's why I used that little bit of margarita just to set this up so that we get the most out of that neon. I love this color. So if you were worried about, that avocado toast being a little pasty, you needn't have worried. Look at that. I love it. So once you have that highlight on there, we're going to dry it and we're going to deepen the shading one more time, and that's it. Then we can think about all the fun little details that go on these leaves. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of black green, just a tiny bit, and I'm going to just crisp up that center vein a little. Because when you put a bunch of other colors on top of it, that shadow gets a little muted and just needs a little cleanup to sharpen it. And I'm going to do the same thing underneath here. It just creates a nice sharp shadow. So look at that. We've got these nice, clean, sharp petals and leaves. It does give you a wow factor, but effortlessly. You don't need to do a whole lot of work for it. Now there is a neon yellow, and if you want to put a pop of that in, you absolutely can with that neon yellow. I just find that it doesn't really, especially because we use that saffron, it doesn't do as much as you'd expect it to. But if you want to add a little zing to the tips of the petals, by all means, go right ahead. Now we're going to quickly come back to our baby duck just for a minute.
I'm going to pick up a little bit of baby duck, and I'm just going to bring a little float of that at the tip of the petal. Just a little float. It's tiny, and it's not something you have to work on, but it just brightens the tip a little bit. Just a little. And you just do it to the top petals. You don't have to worry about any of the other ones, the ones that are at the highest point. So you don't have to go whole hog everywhere, and it's a tiny little float just at the tip of the petal. But that little float just adds a little lightness to the tips. So I'm going to dry this real quick. How fun is that? And then we're going to do that center. And the center of these flowers is super easy. And we're going to do it with a deer foot and an angled shape. I'm going to give myself a clean palette. And we need a little bit of asphaltum. And I know this is going to be kind of freaky and seem weird, but we're going to use a little bit of margarita. Here's our yellow value. And I'm going to put some paint away because, there we go. I've got too much paint out and it's taking up space. There we go. Et voila. So, I'm going to dig out my deer foot. Remember the one that we applied the color with? There's my deer foot, and we need a little bit of lamp black. Just a little dab will do you. You don't need to put a ton of it on your palette. So, angled shader, lamp black. We're going to float the bottom of this sunflower. So it's going to go from about the middle. So there's the middle of our sunflower. And we're going to float all across the bottom like so. Float of lamp black. And then there's a circle on the inside, and we're going to do the same thing to the inside circle. Put a float of lamp black like that. This little one here just gets a float straight across, and the same here. So let's dry it, and then we're going to start working the texture in the center of this flower. So I have, this is a 3/8 deer foot. And we're going to load it up with asphaltum. Generously load that brush up with asphaltum. And then before you go to your surface, I'm going to move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. I'm going to just tip load the deer foot with a little bit of margarita. And then you're going to blend those two colors comme ça. You're going to end up with a very muddy looking green. And we're going to use that at the top edge until it meets that center line of, remember where we put the black? That's where it's going to stop. Right about there. And then we're going to pick up more asphaltum, a little margarita, and we're going to highlight the center like so. I needed a little more asphaltum on my brush right there because it wasn't blending softly. Ah, that's better. There we go. So we've got the top and then the top of the center. Now you have to do the top of the bottom. So like so. Use the whole deer foot. Just like your angled shader, you have to remember to use the whole brush. It's not just the tip, you're using the whole brush. So this will give you a nicely textured center, just like that. So lots of asphaltum, little bit of margarita, blend the two.
There's the top of the middle. There you go. Asphaltum, Margarita blend. I'm a one blender. I blend. There we go. Makes for a very simple center, and it works so quickly. And if you overwork it, you can come back in with just a little bit of the Margarita on the brush. That dirty brush adds a little soft highlight. Light touch. Don't need to overwork it. And then pick up a little more asphaltum, or a little more Margarita, and just lightly touch the surface like so. See that? This will give you that nice light texture. Simple little highlight. It just gives you a nice soft texture in the center of your flower. The thing to keep in mind, it's just paint. If at any time you muck it up, which I have on many occasions, you can come back in and do it again. So I'm looking at my piece right down here. I missed a spot. Well, I didn't miss a spot. I've lost a spot, I think is the word. I've lost a spot. That center kind of got lost. Same here. This got a little lost. There we go. So you can always come back in and repeat it. Hi, Cordelia. It's a 3/8, Debbie. The Deerfoot is a 3/8. So look at that. Like, how fun is that? So we're going to let that dry for a bit. And we're going to come up here to the lettering. And I know that this part scares everybody, but it's not that bad. I've got a little bit of Prussian blue on my palette and a 3/8 angled shader. And I'm going to get a nice float of Prussian blue, and I'm going to float right up against the right side of each letter, like so. Inside that little area, look at that. Nice float. Now this shadow is going to give your lettering a lot of depth. It's going to lift it off the surface. Inside right, inside right. Darkest value towards the letter. Just like that. And the thing to remember is this is also part of that. Those little connecting lines underneath them to the right. Those are so important. It doesn't look realistic if that shadow is only on specific parts. So I've got a little bit of that Prussian blue in there. Not a lot, but a little. So we're going to dry that. And then we're going to use a little bit of warm white. Now I'm going to use a 0 rigger for this. And we need some warm white. We have asphaltum on the palette, but we're going to work with some warm white. And we're going to thin out that warm white with a little bit of Jo Sonja's. You can do it with water, but Jo Sonja's is
Very helpful. And we want it a little thicker than milk. Beauty. Now the thing about a rigger is that it is actually square on the end. So you're going to press your brush flat so that you get that little square edge. Chisel edge, just like a traditional flat. And you're going to start at the top of the letter on the chisel edge. Press down until you fill the space. And then release the pressure and come back up onto the chisel edge. You're going to do that for each piece of this lettering. Press down, open up, fill the space, release, and come back up onto the chisel edge. Now, I'm not going to lie, it does take some practice to do this, but that's okay. You learned how to use a computer and drive your car, you can do this. I love lettering. And I'm going to show you another little trick here in a second. So I have stopped just shy of the leaf. Leave that tiny little space. I never tire of sunflowers either. I think I could paint sunflowers every day. Sunflowers and daisies, I love them. So there's my welcome. Now the nice part about having a brush this small that has a flat chisel edge is this. So I can pat that brush square. Helps if you have paint in it. Just like that. I can turn it onto the corner of the brush. And I could do those fine little connecting lines with the same brush. Just like so. So it just takes a little practice in loading the brush, a little practice holding it. But the nice thing is that this is just a fine line. So if you're struggling using the rigger to do it, don't be afraid to grab your favorite liner and connect them. There's nothing wrong with that by any means. Oops. There's just something about brush lettering. To me, it's very relaxing. For other people, it's, like nails on a chalkboard, but I find the structure of doing lettering is relaxing for me. There we go. I enjoy it. So there we are. Now, if you're anything like me, chances are at some point, whatever you're painting is going to get bigger and bigger because you keep trying to fix it. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirts. So I'm going to show you a little trick to make those horrible little boo-boos go away. So the color that I used for the base color in this is that deep midnight blue. So I'm going to take a liner brush and that deep midnight blue, because you can see where this suddenly got a whole lot wider than it should have been. And I'm going to paint right up against my lettering with a thin line of that base color and fix what I messed up. It's paint. Honestly, it's just paint. So there's so many things that you can mess up when you're doing this, and there's so many other ways that you can fix it. And it is, after all, it's just paint. So I'm going to dry that, and then we're going to add a nice little shadow to the bottom of our lettering. I can do that because I'm the boss of me. So there we are. I'm going to take a little bit of asphaltum on a 3/8 angle, and I'm going to thin it out. And I'm going to put a little float
on the lettering where it slips in behind the lettering. Hi, Sky. I love that name. Just love that name, Sky. It's very pretty. So, little float at the bottom of the lettering. That little shadow just gives the lettering a little more depth. And the wonderful thing is if there's any whoopsies or boo-boos along there, goodbye. Look at that. So now we have that pretty lettering. Super easy. And of course, I put that blue in and then promptly wiped it off because I'm a knucklehead. There we go. Super easy. And I see a spot I missed. There we are. There is nothing wrong with having to go back and fix little boo-boos. I'd be the last person to throw shade about that. So, I'm going to dry this really well. Carrie, just relax. You get used to loading it, you're going to do just fine. And a rigger brush, a good brush, makes all the difference. Okay. So we have, look at that. Making headway here. So I've got a 5/0 extra long detail liner. I love my detail liners. And I'm going to put out a little bit of baby duck. Because I love it. And we have a little bit of warm white. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of margarita on my liner. I'm going to thin it out for stroke work, and I'm going to add a little bit, just a little bit of warm white. I'm not adding it to make it lighter, just to make it a little bit more opaque. And we're going to come down here to our leaves. And I'm going to start here. And at the edge of the leaf, I'm going to make a squiggly line. It can go on the leaf, can go off the leaf, doesn't matter. I'm going to do that to all of them. And again, I'm not concerned with whether or not they perfectly outline the leaf. I don't care. I want that sort of irregularity. And you can put little curlicues at the end. Add a little stroke down the center vein if you wish. Just like that. And we're going to do the same thing with baby duck. Okay, yep. The more you try to fix your boo-boo, the bigger it gets. Yeah. That's when you stop and add, take your base color, touch it up a little. Believe me, I've done a lot of that. So I'm thinning out a little bit of baby duck, and again, I've added a little bit of warm white to it. Just going to put a little more glaze in it. There we go. And what we just did to the leaves, we're going to do to the petals with one small change. I'm going to start over here on this one. See this one here? You're going to press like this and then outline the leaves. Press on that space, outline the leaf, the petal. Bunny leaves, good God. And you're going to use that liner to give your flowers kind of a loosey-goosey outline. Look at this. Now all this does really is just soften the outline of your flowers. They start to look a little less hard-edged. So that little space open it up. Easy peasy. I love how this looks. Always have. So now it's accentuated that curve on the petal. And those fine lines have softened the edges of the petals. So I'm going to come down here and do that to this one as well. And soften those ones in the background too. As I said, it does not have to be a perfect outline. It can be on the petal or off. I love a squiggly. I tend to be quite a heavy-handed painter, and many, many years ago, my painting teacher told me that the best way to avoid that, painting heavy-handed, especially with liners, is to get that little finger on the surface. And I've learned how to do that over the years. So you can see I've got my whole side of my hand and my pinky finger laying on the surface of my table. And it does make a difference. I tend not to be quite so heavy-handed because now I have to pay attention to where my hand is. The other thing that helps with heavy-handedness too, I have a tendency to hold my liners down here. But if you have a hard time with a heavy-handedness or your fine lines tend to look a little heavy, hold your brush further back. It does make a difference. So when you, oops, I haven't got enough. If you hold the brush further back there, it makes a world of difference. There we are. So pretty. So, what is the name of the glaze? The glaze is Joe Sonia's Fast Dry Glaze. Wait a second, I'll show you the bottle. It's this one right here. I love this stuff. Thank God for markers, yes. Oh, hey, you know what? If you're more comfortable using a fine tip marker to do this, by all means. By all means. The thing about it is if you try somebody else's technique and it doesn't necessarily work for you or it doesn't work the way you'd like it to, try your own. See what happens. There's no rule that says you absolutely have to do it exactly the way the teacher did. I hate holding my brush further back. I like holding mine about the middle, just back from the ferrule. It depends on the liner brush. Personally, my extra longs, I'm back from the ferrule a little bit. So, this is where I break out my gel pen. I have a thing for gel pens. So, first thing I like doing, I'm going to go squigglies. I love a good squiggly. I'm going to do squigglies around the center of my flowers. Right at the edge, on the petals, off the petals, whatever. And it's a squiggly. I don't want a straight line because, what fun is that? I can't walk in a straight line. Why would I draw in a straight line? There we go. So, nice little squiggly all the way around the center. And then on the base of the leaf, I'm going to put one long line in the center of the petal. Leaf, petal, bunny leaves. And then I'm going to put a few little hash marks like this on either side. One long one, about an inch, maybe 3/4, whatever.
And then, you know, a few little hash marks in the center, like so. I like this. I just find that it gives a little more texture and a little detail to the petals without adding 10 tons of stuff. I find a lot of the time we just overthink everything, and sunflowers are happy. So keep it simple. Kiss, kiss. Look at that. So it gives a nice little texture to the base of those things. It's super simple, right? And you don't have to overthink it. It doesn't have to be, you know, too much. It can be a little bit. It can be a lot. I just realized I missed a squiggly. Good heavens. Can't have that. I missed one right here. There. And there's a little petal back there that I forgot. Oh, Gravy Marine. Missed one here too. Having too much fun. Wasn't paying attention. There we go. There we are. Now, if you wanted to deepen the separation, you could go in with a little bit of asphaltum, but I really liked it the way it was. So, and this works up fairly quickly. So if you're, you know, doing a lot of craft shows, farmers markets and stuff like that, this is a really great one to do, because honestly, it takes no time to do it. It's not a long and involved piece. Now, I love the little details in the center of the flower, but you can also do it on the leaves. And so I like to come down and then do a Y like this. So you can tuck those in as well. I like those, and they're just squiggly lines, nothing too detailed, nothing too fancy. But I just like that those little details make interesting textures and fun things on leaves and flowers. When I was going to school, I had a professor that he had a thing for bubbles and squares. He had us doing bubbles and squares and everything. And at first I thought, you know, this is crazy. And then after a while, I started realizing that those bubbles and squares created a little bit of visual texture that was outside the norm. And so it made for a really fun look on a lot of things. So lots of squiggles and Ys and details on those leaves. And then now we're just going to highlight the center of these flowers. And then we have a butterfly to paint. I love a flutterby. The fun part is that you can put this wherever you want. Like I have it up here, but it can go anywhere. So we're going to detail our flowers. I'm going to use a little bit of warm white, and we're going to use just a smattering of little dots. So I'm using the end of my brush and a little bit of warm white and a light touch, because I want some smaller, some bigger. So just gently touch the surface. You're going to do the same thing on the center there, and again on that bottom line. Try to keep them different sizes, some really small, some bigger than others. And try to go off the edge and onto the petals a little bit. This just helps keep the center of the flower looking lighter, so it doesn't look so heavy. Gives it a fluffy look. And I love those little details. They don't have to be a lot. And you definitely don't want them all in a row. Don't be afraid to go out over onto the petals. That's not a bad thing.
It just helps keep the center looking soft and airy. There we go. Look at that. And I love a good dip dot. How fun. Now, because it's a country piece and it's very light and airy, we're going to do one last step. I'm going to dry this really well because it's dip dots and I'll smear it if I'm not careful. So just a few dots. You could add a little bit of asphaltum dip dots in there. You could use a little bit of lamp black. Depends on how heavy you want the center to be. I wanted it a bit more light, so I avoided doing too much of the dip dots. There we go. Now, the other thing that I really love about using a gel pen is that if you really want to accentuate the texture, you can mimic that squiggly line from the inside edge, which I love. Not everybody does, but you know, I like it. But that's just me, and if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. I'm not going to be sending off nasty letters telling you how upset I am that you chose to do something for yourself. I just don't. So if you like it, do it. If you don't like it, don't do it. But I like the little addition of that little bit of black. I like the squiggly lines. I like that sort of loose and freehand look. So if you like it, then by all means go for it. But if it's not your cup of tea, you don't have to. So I have one more step that I always really love. I did not do it in the first one, but I am going to do it on this one. So I'm going to rinse out my favorite fugly brush while we're waiting for Renee to come down and set up the wheel. And we're going to add just a little bit of spatter. I have a thing. I love spatter, especially on pieces that are more of a country look. And this sort of walks the line on that a little bit. I think it is country because it's sunflowers, but I love the fact that it's pretty. So little spattering of warm white. I just love the contrast of it. And I'm paying a little more attention to the centers of the flower and just spattering a little more in there because I like it. There we go. Now, again, you could do more, you could do less. So there we are. We've got our sunflowers done, and I'm going to quickly show you how to do this flutter by because it does not take long. I'm going to take a little bit of baby duck. Neatness doesn't count. Perfection is to be avoided at all costs. I'm going to do a quick base coat of baby duck. Oof, what a mess. There we go. Maybe not that quick. There we are. I'm going to top the edges like so. Again, I'm not overly concerned with a fully opaque background because we've got a multitude of colors going over top of this. So you could do it all white and then do it yellow and take the time to base coat, super solid if you like, but not necessary. So I'm going to dry that. Ta-da! Almost there. And then we're going to repeat the shading from the sunflowers. So tea berry, red spice, saffron. Super easy. Just make sure that this is completely dry. And I'll grab my tea berry. Little bit of tea berry. This part, to me, is just fun. So tea berry is our first shading color, just like we did the sunflowers. Except I'm going to do it like that. Nice big float.
Nice big float. Notice I'm not too worried about getting on top of that, the body of our butterfly. No need to be. So there's our float. Nice big float. I'm going to dry that, then we're going to separate the wings using the same method. Easy peasy. So, float and float. Look at that. So now we have winglets. Then dry that. We're going to use the red spice over top of that. I love red spice. This part is just so super simple. Obviously not a realistic butterfly. I'm going to go over that with that red spice. Look at the heat. Oof. Oodles of heat. That's what we want. Lots and lots of heat. I love this color. Look at that. And I'm going to come out onto the... Look at that. So pretty. Always a surprise. And then remember the saffron? We've got a little bit of saffron. And again, I'm just going to thin that out with a little bit of the glaze or water. Look at the heat this creates. Just like the sunflowers, it gives us that high yellow, that wonderful glow. There we go. I love that. Love that. So we're going to dry our butterfly. Now we have to repeat the polka dots. I like having whatever something I add on to it. I like to repeat what we have in the background. It just sort of bonds everything, brings it all together. So we're going to use, this is a 1/8 polka dot. And I'm going to turn it so that I get as many polka dots onto the wings as I can. And I'm going to use a little bit of warm white. And we're going to stencil white polka dots all over our wings. Now, I didn't tape this in place, so I'm just going to wing it. Pardon the pun. Sorry. Jeez.
You let it happen.
I did let it happen. I'm sorry. Ta-da! Oh yes, these colors would be so pretty on autumn pumpkins. So there, we have white polka dots on our flutterby. So let's dry that. We've got a little bit of lamp black. And we're going to paint the body in with a little lamp black. This is just super simple and so fun. So there's our black butter, our body on our butterfly. Now I'm going to use a little bit of thinned warm white and a liner. We're going to put, whoops, need a little more white than that. Going to put a little dot and then a stroke for a highlight on the body. And then remember our gel pen. I'm going to put a squiggly line right at the edge of the wings, like so. And then I go around the wings a couple of times. I like that sort of scribbly look, just to separate the winglets. Puppy dog is trying to get in through the cat door.
She can't do that anymore.
Well, she's only about 65 pounds too big to get in through that cat door. That doesn't stop her from trying, apparently. So nice little squiggles all the way around. And then you have a couple of options. You could use a spacer, like a little piece of wood to lift it off the surface. So you could mount this butterfly wherever you like. So it has a little elevation. I chose up here because I kind of liked the fact that it was hovering above everything and was, flying away from it. So that's where I would place mine. And it's very easy to do. I've got a couple of pieces, small pieces of MDF or wooden buttons, or you could even use cardboard. I've got a bazillion of these little things. These were just holes. These are the holes. That's what they are. I'm knocking stuff over today. These are holes from another surface that we were cutting. And I've got a little bit of my favorite craft glue. This stuff is awesome. And I'm going to glue two of them together. Just a little dab will do ya. And then I'm going to glue those two to the back of my butterfly, like so. And then once that is completely dry, you just glue a little dab of glue on your surface, like so. And then glue your butterfly down. Now, having that little space creates a cast shadow, and it just gives the sign a little more depth. And there you go. You've got a bold sunflower welcome. Fun piece to paint. Works up really quick. There you go. So Renee has the wheel all set up and ready to go. Oh, thank you, Carol. That's a very sweet thing to say. I like the butterfly.
Press the button.
Press the button. It's price time.
Yep.
There we go.
Let's see. Oh, it didn't work.
Where'd it go? The wheel of names. Renee's got the wheel all set up. Body crossed.
Ah, there it is.
Yep. Boop. Jessica says, hello, Renee.
Hello.
Hi, Roxy. And Gail. I love the butterfly. It's just a little, simple little addition to make things pop. So Renee is going to spin the wheel. We have
Roxy won me pee. Hello.
hello.
I need my sticky notes
Your sticky notes and your mouse.
and my Sharpie. First winner.
Yep.
They get one of these bumblebees.
Yes, they're getting one of those bumblebee packs.
Bumblebee pack goes to
Oh, my stars. It's fall and it's going to Robin Harkless. You're welcome, Carol. I'm glad you guys came to watch. So Robin Harkless.
one. Bear with me. I'm working on one eye right now.
Yep. Donna, I'm so glad you came to play. I'm glad you enjoy it.
There we go.
Oh, the butterflies make great ones, actually. And Corinne's Crafts.
So as always, guys, make sure that you pop into my website and click on the little speech bubble in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and send us your shipping information and your full name, please and thank you. So,
It helps.
it helps immensely. We'd love to send them to you, but we need to know who to send them to. And the last one goes to Tara Ellis. Awesome.
Tara L. Ellis.
Aha. Okay, guys. Thanks for coming and joining us today. Go to the face cam. Ta-da! Thanks for coming and watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I have a lot of fun designing these pieces. I never quite know what people are going, how they're going to react to some of the stuff that I make, but you never know. I'm glad that you enjoy it as much as I do. So everybody have a great weekend. We will see you next Saturday. We've got another festive piece for you for the Christmas holidays. Renee, get over it. There will be glitter.
No.
There will be glitter. We're working on a piece. It is called Christmas Calories.
Cookies?
It's cookies, yes. We're making a cookie board. So come and join us next Saturday, same time, same bat channel. I will be here. He probably will be too.
Maybe.
We'll be painting a fun little piece that incorporates lots of glitter, lots of sparkly things, and of course cookies. So we will see you next Saturday. Mwah! We love you. Stay safe.
And pet your dog.
And pet your dog.
The whole dog.
The whole dog?
The whole dog.
No. Not the whole dog. Portions of the dog. Usually the front end. Renee just scheduled next Saturday off. Oh my goodness.